Yeah, hello everyone. Due to technical problem, uh, we are going to start the lecture again. We have lost almost 20 minutes. So today we will have an overview of 3.6-meter Devasthal Optical Telescope Facility, and this is the sixth lecture of the Aries lecture series. And what you see here is this is the main telescope in white from here to here, and having mirrors, primary and secondary mirrors. And in blue, what you see, this is the fork which is supporting this telescope, and in yellow, these are back end instruments. So this is Ultra Azimuth telescope. This is India's largest optical telescope. Well, how it all started. If you see, this 1 meter class optical telescope were set up within country in 1970s, and thereafter to study faint celestial sources, this idea of setting up of 4 meter class optical telescope started, and as advised by national experts, a search started in 1980s in Kumaon Hills of Uttarakhand. So this during this period, 1982 to 1991, the survey to find a suitable site for this class telescope was made, and 36 slides were selected in this particular region based on logistics, the availability of water, power, and access road approach. So these 5 sites were Gananath, Monnola, Chakuri, Jaurasi, and Devasal. So further measurements on these 5 sites were done, particularly the meteorological measurements, the atmospheric transparency, number of clear nights, and rain in a year, and finally, Devasthal was selected, which is situated at 2.5 kilometer above mean sea level. Devasthal has some other very important characteristics. What you see in this map of India, this is the location of Devasthal shown over here, and a zoomed in view of Devasthal site is shown 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer. So here various color represent the altitude of the position. So from about, I mean, this dark color 3000 feet represents, and the white represents 8000 feet. So you can see that there is a ridge here sitting north to south, and southmost peak Devasal is situated. You see the Himalayan range, this is not usually runs from east to west, but this ridge is situated north, exactly north to south, and the prevailing wind direction at this particular location is from southwest, that is from Delhi and Rajasthan side. So as a result, this side gets a laminar flow of wind, which has to do with the seeing atmospheric turbulence at that particular site, and twinkling of stars. So coming back to seeing, this is the most important parameter which describes an astronomical observatory, and to measure this seeing at a particular site, we need again a small optical telescope. So this diagram is shown. This is a primary mirror of this telescope. This is a secondary mirror, and at the front of this telescope, an aperture mask is made with 2 holes of about 5 centimeter diameter. So starlight passes through this. One of the aperture prism is there. So as a result, we the two images of a same star forms at the focal plane, and the centroid estimates of these two images gives us an estimate of the seeing. So why this kind of setup? This kind of setup is called DIM setup, differential image motion monitor setup. Two images of a same star which is passing through two apertures. So this basically eliminates the effect of motion of telescope from wind shake and guiding and other parameters when you measure the FWHM of point source. In addition to these effects, there are effect from Earth atmosphere, change in refractive index and turbulence, which is contributing to the FWHM of this point source. And usually, for to record these images, we give short exposures of 10 millisecond and measure the centroid. So we do that because in that time scale, the wavefront slope in this holes uh, change is negligible. So this is how we measure seeing. Now, a detailed characterization for Devastal site was done during this 1999 to 2000, this 2-year period. And what you see here is a base camp. Here, the DIM setup has been installed, and the setup was installed also at the hilltop. So these are the key parameters which we have obtained. Seeing at Devastal, this is FWHMC. At Devastal site, we obtained 1.1 arc second FWHM, and the best we have got 0.7 arc second. Remember, this is almost a ground level, few meters above the ground level measurement we have done for the scene. And the wind we have got less than 3 meter per second for 75% of time. So this is a median wind site. This is important when you go constructing a dome for telescope. And the maximum wind we recorded 6 meter per second. In fact, the wind gusts are much more than this, sometimes 18 to 20 meter per second wind gusts we have recorded at the site. And air temperature variation, about 22 degree to -5 degree centigrade, it varies. This site also gets rain of 2 meter per year and 2 feet of snowfall during January and February. The temperature variation during a night is very less, 2 degree centigrade. This has implication because when temperature variation actually related to the variation in seeing during a night when you record images with this telescope, and number of clear nights about 200 per year we see. So considering all these parameters, Devasthal is just as at par with one of the best sites over globe for optical observations. As usual, with every peak at mountain in Himalaya, you find a temple. So here the picture of temple is there, Lord Shiva temple. We will discuss more about this in this slide. So, well, this motivation, whether you want to set up a telescope or a temple at the top of the hilltop, because setting up telescope at hilltop is very important to get a laminar flow of wind, which helps in reducing the seeing or twinkling of stars and getting sharp images with this telescope. So there have been some demands from local authorities while setting up a telescope pretty close to this temple. The shadow of telescope building should not fall on the temple area. And also the telescope building should also be treated as a place of worship. In fact, we don't have any facilities constructed in this telescope building. So we accepted these two demands, and we also made some additional demands by scientific authorities. These are basically the size of telescope diameter is less than the diameter of temple. In fact, it's a 3.8 meter is the diameter temple, and size of telescope is primary mirror is 3.6 meter. So we in fact told the local authorities about this information, that we have made additional demands. And also this signing dome, because dome height is going to be much higher than this height of this open temple, so that will symbolize this Lord Shiva at Devastal. So in fact the local authorities were more than happy with this kind of approach, and we started setting up this telescope. So before setting up a 4-meter class telescope, this was a situation within India. We were having 1 to 2 meter class telescope. This is 1.2 meter Mount Abu telescope at Guru Shikhar. Then we are having a telescope in Pune, 2-meter Giravali telescope. We have a telescope at Hyderabad. This is 1.2 meter telescope. And at Kavalur, we are having a 2.3 meter Vanuatu telescope. This was established way back in 1984. And then at Nainital, we are having 2 telescopes, 1 meter Devastal telescope, which was commissioned in 2010, and then 104 centimeter Sampurnan telescope, which was in operation since 1972. And then recently we had in 2000 2-meter Himalayan Chandra telescope. So as you can see that most of these telescopes are 1 to 2 meter class telescopes, and it's very difficult to get a good signal when you want to get spectra of celestial sources. So we required to have a larger site facility for spectroscopic observations. And another important aspect is all these telescopes are passive telescopes, in the sense that you cannot align these telescopes while they are doing observation of celestial sources in situ. So for that you need active optics technology, and that is very important to get seeing limited and sharp images of faint sources. Well, before this 3.6 meter facility at Devastal, there were already 16 facilities over globe. So you can see they were all set up in 1970s, 75, 79, 3 facilities, 80 to 89, 3 facilities were set up, 90 to 99, these optical telescope facilities were set up, including, you can see in 1989, this new technology 3.6 meter telescope was set up. And recently, during this period, 2000-2012, 4-meter Vista telescope, this is a survey telescope, and LAMOST, this is again survey facility, and this is Discovery Channel telescope were set up. So you can see this 4-meter class demand for 4-meter class telescope is still there, and this is mainly we can understand this from this plot. On x-axis you see the year, time, y-axis is altitude. So most of the facilities, they are located at 2 kilometer elevation above mean sea level. There are 2 facilities that are situated at 4 kilometer elevation. So you can see that around 1990 this new technology, active mirror technology, came up, and then several telescopes that utilizing that technology were set up. And recently people have started setting up a specific purpose telescopes. So as long as there is a change in technology, goal and instrumentation for this 4-meter class optical telescope, there is a demand. Well, in context to the 3.6 meter dot facilitated Devastal, we also noticed that India, the location of India, lies in between the this is a in red symbol. The location of 4-meter class telescopes are shown, and you see the Canary Islands, there is a 4-meter class telescopes, and towards east you see in Australia there's a 4-meter class telescope. This is the LAMOST location. So almost there's a 12-hour gap in longitude. So this is very important for transients and time critical events. Well, here is a motivation for 3.6 meter DART project, seeing limited imaging and spectroscopic observation, moreover giving direct access to Indian astronomers at visible and near infrared wavebands, and also the time critical and multi-site observations of astronomical sources. This 12-hour gap becomes very crucial. And then the synergy with other facilities within country, 2-meter class, and also the GMRT at radio wave bands, AstroSat, and X-ray and UV. And of course, this building up a technological know-how is also very important in astronomical instrumentation within country. Well, when we talk about the telescope, it's not only telescope, but it's along with the telescope there are certain other components. So this is the telescope. This is the key component of any 4-meter class optical telescope facility. You can see that M1 mirror blank for this telescope is from Germany, and polishing of mirrors are done, figuring and polishing from Eljas, Russia, and primary mirror is basically coated by India. So and finally this entire telescope is manufactured and assembled by Amos, Belgium. So you can see establishing any large size facility such as this 3.6-meter facility, it's not a matter of a single country. I mean, multiple countries and technologies need to go there to set up such a facility. In addition to this, you need enclosure dome building to house this telescope, and then you need mirror coating facility at the site, and also the observatory control software and the rooms and the back-end instruments. So we will discuss more about all these things. This has been developed indigenously, at least gives us an opportunity to participate in this facility. So well, this has been the project timeline for this telescope. This telescope was actually started, manufacturing happened between 2007 to 2013. So it almost took about 5 years of completion of telescopes. Then telescope building, it took quite a time. It got completed in 2014. Then mirror coating plant was commissioned in 2015. Dome control and related software, again it came up in 2014. So installation of telescope at Devastal, it happened during this period, 2014-2015, and we had a first light for this telescope in December 2015. In addition to this telescope and related components, we also have instrumentation. So within country, we developed this 4 instruments, and between this period 2016 to 2018, we tested them at the telescope, and these are 4K, about 4K imager, and Aries Devastal FASC spectrograph, then TIRCAM 2 and TANSPEC. We'll discuss more about this back-end instruments in coming slides. So this is the basic configuration for this telescope, which is basically driven by the science interest of Indian astronomical community, and some other communities as well over the global science requirement. And so this telescope has a Cassegrain focus, and this is an optimization for imaging, spectroscopy and polarimetric observations, because the other telescopes within countries also have the same Cassegrain focus in F9 beam. And we decided to go for a science field of view of half degree, because in case if you want to plan some survey observation, then you need a large science field of view. And this 80% encircle energy diameter, this we decided that it should be less than 0.45 arcsecond for all direction of the sky. And this we decided that our best seeing at the site at the ground level, 0.7 arcsecond, should not be degraded by 10%. And we decided because of this limited space at the site, that it is going to be a compact telescope, ultra azimuth, and it's going to have active optics technology. Well, this is the optics. This is the primary mirror, and this is the secondary mirror. So light falling on this. So this is a focal plane, and this is a side port mirror, and you can focus the image over here also. So this is F9 Rishi-Chrétien telescope. It has 2 side ports, and 1 axial port is here, and one side port is this side. So on axial port, you will have 10 arcminute, 30 arcminute on axial port, and 10 arcminute on side ports. We have 2 side ports. So this telescope operates wavelength range is 350 to 5000 nanometer. So M1 and M2 mirror characteristics are given over here. So primary is F2, it is having RMS wavefront error less than 40 nanometer, and secondary is having less than 30 nanometer, and that gives a plate scale of 0.06 arc second per 10 micron. So this is the optical design you can see. So wavefront is coming from primary mirror and falling to secondary, focusing over here. You can see the spot diagram and comparison with the 1 arc second size diameter. So you can see the spot size is much less for different field of view. So here I would say that 80% energy, if you see the blue circle, it is always very less in arc second. This is without corrector. So you can see the central 10 arc minute field without corrector we can very much use. This is satisfies our E80 criteria. And here with corrector you can see, so it is all very less than 0.15 arc second. This is 80% of the energy overall 30 arc minute of science field of view. Well, this is the telescope which is as designed telescope is shown over here. So this has there are 3 system level parameter this any optical telescope has to fulfill. One is of course this pointing accuracy, the accuracy with which we point different celestial sources in the sky. So this points with the accuracy of 2 arc second RMS, and then after pointing this telescope, any telescope has to track the celestial source so that we can continue recording the image. And this tracking accuracy is less than 0.1 arc second in 1 minute and 1 hour. This is 1 minute is without guider and 1 hour is with guider. Then there is another third very important parameter for any optical telescope is image quality. This is again in terms of FWHM. If you convert this, it comes 0.3 arc second. Well, this is a primary mirror of telescope. So this has 370 centimeter, 3.7 meter from edge to edge. So this is the primary mirror you see. This is made up of 0 glass, shot Germany, and this has meniscus in shape with a thickness of 17 centimeter. And this surface is polished with an accuracy of 33 nanometer. And figuring and polishing of this mirror took about 20 months. This is this shows the active supports of primary mirror. There are 69 axial supports. These are axial supports you see, and there are 24 lateral supports. Lateral supports are not shown over here. Is a bare mirror shown over here. So this 69 axial actuators, they have 7 nanometer resolution, and with these are push only. They have accuracy with accuracy of 0.2 Newton force you can push them, and the entire force range is 10 to 1000 Newton. Well, this is M2 hexapod. This is the dummy M2 mirror. This is supported by M2 hexapod, and this has this. As a result, this M2 mirror has 6 degrees of freedom, 3 in translation and 3 in rotation. So, in translation, by moving the secondary mirror in Z direction, you can adjust the focus of celestial sources. And this has accuracy, this can move with the accuracy of 1 micron. So you can see these are very precise devices. Centering you can do with an accuracy of 7.5 micron, centering of this secondary mirror, and tip tilt is doable with an accuracy of 1 arc second. So in addition to this telescope has a auto guiding and wavefront sensor unit. What you see here is the main beam, F9 beam, which is coming, and there's a pick-off mirror and it reflects from there. There's a fold AGU system is there, and it goes to the AGU system. So this guider of this telescope works in 550 to 750 nanometer range, and wavefront sensor works in 400 to 550 and 750 to 900 nanometer range. Well, This is a very important aspect of this 3.6 meter telescope. It has an active optic system. It is a low frequency system. Every second or with a higher time scale, it detects and corrects deformation and aberrations or any other phenomena that degrade the image quality. It has basically the four component of active optic system. The most important is wavefront sensor, with which we record the spot diagram for at a very high rate, and then M1 active supports, which we just saw in the previous slide, then M2 hexaport supports, and then telescope control system. So TCS actually takes information from all this and sends a feedback to M1 and M2 to keep the M1 and M2 mirror aligned all the time during night time. So well, here is the error budget for this telescope. You can see most of the budget is coming from the optical design. This is 161 nanometer, and this is primary mirror, primary, secondary, and alignment units. They are contributing respectively, and this mainly comes from the surface quality degradations, or yeah, and the mirror supports, thermal effects, actuators and hexaport resolution. This is coming, these components. Then tracking a drive component, about 30 nanometer of wavefront error comes. So if you add everything, about 184 nanometer of error budget this telescope has. So at a 500 nanometer, if you see, this is met. Wavefront error RMS is 210 nanometer. That is the specification. This is met for this telescope, and the remaining 101 nanometer we are keeping for contingency and telescope and local seeing related effects. So this is the telescope. It was already there at EMOS factory, fabricated in 2012. So you see, this is a primary mirror of shining the telescope. You see, so height of this telescope is 13 meter, width is 7 meter, and weight is 150 ton. So the natural frequency in the first rising frequency for this as-built telescope is computed to be 7.4 hertz. Well, there are major sub activities at the site which has to be done. Particularly, prepare the site for construction of pier and the telescope house. And the pier construction itself is for such a large telescope is a major project, and then dome building and the mirror coating plants. We will see one by one how these were accomplished. So this is the telescope site before the construction of a telescope house. Well, this is how this construction is started. This is really on a large scale. You can see this is a hilly region. It was really challenging to make any civil construction. Well, this is the pier, which is a 7 meter diameter and almost 8 meter in height. We will see this is in construction. You can see, so this is as-built telescope pier. You see, this is the pier of the telescope. It took a year, 12 months to build this telescope pier. And basically this pier is required to be isolated from building foundation, because once telescope is installed on this pier, it should not get any vibration from rotating dome, which is part of the building. So this is the M25 grade concrete pier, and total weight of this pier is 630 ton. So this top level is 8.26 meter above this ground level. So these are some specs mentioned for this pier. This has an inner diameter of 5 meter, outer diameter of 7 meter, and top slab of 1 meter. So this is, and we have measured the deflection of this pier. Once 150 ton weighing telescope is installed on top of this pier, then it will get a deflection and vertical direction of 32 micron. So that is well within our specs. And we have also measured the frequency of this pier, and we got 23 hertz. So this frequency is very well separated from the frequency of telescope, which is 7 hertz. So which is well separated. I mean, there is no chance of resonance when both are working together. Well, this is a design of telescope building. And this design was done by Precision Precast Solution Limited company in Pune. So you can see this is the main building, and this is the extension where mirror coating plant will come. Well, it took a long time, and this is the timeline which shows the construction of dome building. You see, September 2012, this is the first month when this construction is started. You can see, and in some months, you can see the snow covered this building. So this is a 9 month. You can see how this construction progressed. So again, you can see the snow. This is October 2014. You can see this snow. So this building took 22 months to complete because the site was very difficult. Almost for 3 to 4 months. I mean, you cannot work 1 or 2 months during rainy season and also during winter season. It's very difficult to construct such a highly technical building which can house this 4-meter class optical telescope at such a site. So it was challenging. Finally, the as-built building is here. You see, so this is basically a steel structure. This is having almost 10-story height, 30 meter from ground to the top level. And what you see here, this is the dome part of it. So this is a rotating dome. This weighs 175 ton, and this has 6.5 meter diameter. So this dome is a highly technical building. This has ventilation fans. So these are ventilation. There are 12 ventilation fans at the telescope floor. Why these ventilation fans are required? Because during daytime, the dome gets heated, and hence the temperature inside is very high in comparison to the temperature outside during night time. So to thermalize, to make the temperature equal, and hence the refractive index equal both inside outside, we have these fans. This improves the sharpness of images found by the telescope. So we also have hot air duct in this building, which we operate during night time. And this insulated from day heat. Of course, there is inside there's a lot of insulation, and this is protected by for fire and pest. So this is designed by PPS Pune and constructed by Messrs Pedvec Hyderabad. So we also have overhead cranes, and these are very precise overhead cranes of capacity 10 ton. This yellow in color you see, and this can hoist with a speed of 3 millimeter per second. So it's a very challenging to design and construct such overhead cranes because we are going to lift sensitive mirrors which can break. Well, this is a mirror coating plant because the first time coating a primary mirror was done at Devastal site. So the plant will have to be ready before installation of telescope. So this is the mirror coating plant, and we already in first luminization we got a reflectivity of 86%. Well, let us have a look at the installation and the first slide for this facility, 4-meter. So this is the primary mirror. This is M1 mirror handling tool in yellow color. You see, this is primary mirror we are holding, and this is the M1 mirror cell in which it is mounted. This is at Devastal site. Well, the entire telescope which you see here from top to bottom. So the various parts are shown over here, and they were actually packed in various boxes, wooden boxes. They are kept over here in the Devastal site. So considering limited space available at the site, see this dome building which we saw earlier, it was designed so as to integrate the entire telescope using overhead cranes inside the building. So these boxes were put in this big size, 5-meter by 5-meter size, and this they were taken inside the building, and telescope was integrated. Well, this is the integrated building inside the house or dome. You can see the pictures, happy faces after installation of this telescope. So yes, this is very important aspect of any 4-meter class facility. Whenever telescope points to the celestial sources in the sky, we have got to uh, sync the motion of this telescope with the motion of dome, because dome is also rotating. It has a limited slit width through which the starlights comes to the telescope. So dome synchronization was done indigenously, and this is the dome control system. So wherever telescope moves, your dome also follows that. Well, this on sky performance, it happened on 22nd March. You see, this is a picture of Jupiter and the moon and Saturn. They were the first recorded images, and but these are short of amateur images. We're pretty excited, but we have got to test the performance of telescope more rigorously. So we have devised some sophisticated instruments. In fact, the telescope itself has some instruments to test the system level parameters. It is having AGU guiding unit camera to test the tracking and pointing of telescope, and then it is having a test camera which again can do tracking, pointing, and image quality. So this is mounted inside the telescope. This we can mount from outside, and again this is mounted with the telescope wavefront sensor. This is used to characterize image quality, and the test wavefront sensor also we can mount from outside. This is what is mounted. So we have done. So this is the vital parameters for this telescope, we have obtained after a rigorous characterization. So you can see the system level parameter, pointing accuracy. This was the specs, less than 2 arcsecond RMS. We are getting all okay. So these are top level parameter of any 4-meter class optical telescope. You can see that the pointing accuracy is well within. It can point any celestial sources with 2 arcsecond accuracy. The tracking accuracy is well within zero point 0.1 arcsecond. You can see these are the measurements, and then the image quality is we have obtained 0.26 plus minus 0.04 arcsecond. So if you convert this in FWHM of celestial sources, it is 0.17. And also this is very important that this primary mirror of this telescope lies 15 meter above the ground, and the site characterization actually was done at almost a few meters above the ground level. So at 15 meter above ground level, the contribution from local scene actually reduces to 0.2 to 0.3 arcsecond WHM. So if you combine all these three parameters, we are expected to get 0.3 arcsecond WHM of celestial sources. So this is what the best in best observing condition this telescope is capable of getting images as sharp as this. Well, we observed to test that. We observed some double star with known separation. You can see we have well resolved as 1.2 arcsecond separation images, then 0.6 arcsecond separation images we have resolved, and also we have resolved 0.4 arcsecond separation images. So as expected, this telescope is already performed. I mean, gave a very sharp images. Well, here is image of twin quasars with another SB camera mounted on the axial port of 3.6 meter telescope. We observed these images in May 2017 using this camera. You can see these two images, they are in the same frame. So left one is of a star which is 1 arc second. This is scale. Right one is a twin quasar. It's a far away object. So these are well separated. In fact, the separation is 0.7 arc second WLHM. This is a 900 second image in R band. Well, let us. This is the final. Section of this lecture. Focal plane instruments or retinas. So this is the first back-end instruments we tested on the telescope. So what you see, this is in white. This is mounted. This is a TIRCam 2 camera. This works in near infrared wavelength range, 1 to 3.7 micron range. This gives a field of view of 86.5 arc second by 86.5 arc second. We are having some broadband filters, JHK, and we also have narrow band filters, bracket gamma, K continuum, PH, and NBL filters we are having. So as you can see, we are able to get sensitivity good enough using this telescope and instrument system. In fact, 10% photometric accuracy at J band, we are able to reach 19 magnitude in 550 second, and H 18.8 magnitude, at K 18 magnitude in 1000 seconds. And not only that, we have close to 3.2 micron. We are able to detect, have detection at these extreme near IR wave bands also. Well, these are some images recorded with a professional camera. So these are images of Saturn JHK band recorded, and this is an image of Jupiter. You can clearly see, and one planet, one satellite of Jupiter you can see. This is a star forming region which is recorded with the TIRCam 2. Well, this is the second instrument imager, 4K by 4K imager we tested on telescope. This is in black. This is mounted, this telescope. This works in optical waveband, 400 to 900 nanometer. This gives a little larger field of view in comparison to the TIRCam 2. It gives 6.5 by 6.5 arc minute image. It has a broadband filters to record celestial sources. So this is the image of a Crab Nebula recorded with this telescope. You can see very sharp images, and it can reach 10% photometric accuracy for 24 magnitude B band sources in 1200 seconds. Well, this is another instrument which we have tested with this telescope, and this is called faint object spectrograph camera. This we tested at axial port. You can see this is the camera mounted over here. This is again, this instrument is capable of taking spectra of celestial sources, and you can measure redshift, and you can prove extragalactic problems in astronomy. And it has filters, broadband, SDSS, UGRIZ filters, and narrowband filters. So sensitivity wise, you can see 25 magnitude at I band you can reach in 1 hour with 5 sigma sensitivity, and at the G band 20 magnitude spectra you can take in 10 minutes. So this is one typical spectra of supernova which you see, and various lines are marked. And this is a very deep image taken from 3.6 meter dot compared with the HST image. So we are already able to get sharp images of faint sources and extragalactic as well. Well, this is another imaging and spectrograph instrument. This is a TANSPEC, TFR Aries visible and near infrared spectrograph. This is mounted at axial port of this facility. So this has a wavelength range of 600 to 2500 nanometer. This can do imaging in a very small field of view, 60 arc second by 60 arc second, and it also has long slit spectroscopy mode, as well as cross disperse prism with a low resolution. So you can see this is a spectra um, uh, with this instrument, and sensitivity is mentioned over here at various wavelengths and magnitude, you can see. So it can at let's say 2.25 micron, it can reach 13.5 magnitude with a 0.5 second arc second slit and resolution 2750. So this is a typical resolution we can reach. Imaging, we can reach 10 sigma in 1 minute, and J band we can reach 19.7. Well, there are various key science that can be done with this telescope, and particularly the variable star and astroseismology work. This can be done, and low mass star formation and planet hosting stars related studies can be done. Supernovae and gamma ray burst and other transient events study we can be done, because here the advantage of time critical and multi-site as well as the longitudinal advantage can be taken for this particular site. And some extragalactic objects like AGNs, quasars can also be well studied, including the faint galaxies. And of course, the observation from this facility can be supplemented with existing observing capabilities in India. So, as for the science users, you can see the in this telescope, considering the scientific importance of this facility at Devastal, Belgian astronomical community is also participating in this, and 7% time share they are having, and the Indian astronomical community has a time share of 60%, and astronomers from Aries, they have a time share of 33%. So in fact, this is how we use the students here. We use this facility and try to get some exciting result using this facility. Yeah, so this is all for today's lecture. I thank you for your attention. You can get more information about this facility and the exciting results from this website. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, there is one question regarding
Ritesh.
Yeah, so we can take questions now. There is a question from Ritesh. So in the spot diagram, how is the field of view of zero arc minute?
yes.
Uh, Actually, zero arc minute field of view is denotes the on axis. So that yeah, that is on axis. Field of view definitely cannot be, I mean, you cannot define field of view on axis, but just to see the spot sizes at different other field of view, it is a matter of notation. And also there are some aberrations which are only off axis, they appear as off axis, so hence the spot diagram is plotted in that fashion.
Oh, video will be available on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you. One more question.
No. Okay. So, sir, there is a one person asking.
Okay, if someone misses today's live lecture, they can find it on Aries Facebook page and also on Aries YouTube channel. The links to these sites is available on Aries official website, and you can also submit feedback on this lecture as well as in general on Aries e-lecture series. Thank you.
There were more questions.
Okay, so there are questions, further questions. So this question is from Abhishek Bohare, and can a student from other university use this facility? The answer is yes, and it's very much yes. In fact, we encourage the younger generation, particularly if you are graduate and postgraduate students, you can connect to us through summer projects with any one of the scientists or engineers at Aries, or so that will give you an opportunity to work on the data from this facility and also to visit this facility. And also when you are doing research or PhD in astronomy, then you can have an opportunity. It is open, facility for all. So yeah, there is a question from Sharvan Kumar, and he is asking, black holes and the less luminous objects can be observed from 3.6 meter. Well, black holes actually they emit at many wave bands, particularly at X-ray and other wave bands. But if there are sufficient signals at optical wave band, they can be observed with this facility. Thank you. Thanks a lot.